Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44. So I figured I'd tap in. Ain't really much to talk about as usual, but we're tapping in during the dog days of summer because we saw Bron posted on his IG picture of him sitting next to Kobe's locker, man, face full of sweat. You could tell he put in work in the Laker facility today. Couldn't be more happy. Couldn't be more happy with what I'm seeing from Bron. 3 days 2 days before it's time for him to sign his extension, he's showing us that he's putting in work with the Lakers. I don't know that it speaks to him being willing to sign that extension or not, but what it does speak to is how serious he is about getting ready for this upcoming season with the Lakers. And that's all we can really demand of a guy in his 20th season. I'm not asking him to commit to us for a million years, because I don't know how many years he wants to play. I just want him to commit to us to every one of the years that he decides to. One at a single time, man. Now, that don't mean I don't want him to sign an extension. But what I'm saying is, every year is a gift when we're talking about a guy at this age, man. Every year is a gift. When he's playing at this level, every year is a gift. And that's the emphasis of me turning on the camera. Because it is something to be said for a guy in his 20th year still putting in the type of work he's putting in, still trying to enrich himself in this organization, even though they haven't necessarily made the motions publicly necessary that you would want to see if you're him. But then again, if you understand what's going on, you know that it has nothing to do with them right now. Everybody's at a stalemate. So for all intent and purposes, I believe that if the waters were steady, I think the Lakers would have already made the moves Bron wants to see made. I think that's the body language I'm gathering. I think it's understood that the commitment to making the team better for this upcoming season is in place. Now, whether or not people are willing to pay the price necessary in these troubled waters, so to speak, with the market being as it is an entirely different conversation. But that they don't move isn't necessarily a mistake right now. And I think Bron understands that. It's not like we need to just be rushing out to do an Indiana deal right now before the 4th just to show him that we're moving if the move that we're making isn't the right move. What good is a move? Just to be moving. I think that's the point. I think LeBron James sees what he needs to see behind the scenes right now to feel good about posting something in regards to the Lakers and himself. I always read into stuff like that because I know that players speak through their behavior, especially a guy like LeBron James. He wrote the book on that. You know what I mean? And in a day like today, where we're still mourning the loss of the great Bill Russell, to appreciate that LeBron James is willing to put on the Laker uniform today, it means a little more to me, to be honest with you. I don't know how everybody else feel about it, but to have a guy like Bron putting on our uniform today means just that much more. So that's how I feel, man. I want to come up here and once again just tap in with everybody who rocks with BDL44. I know it's been a rough summer if you follow this channel. Because we haven't had the greatest of content. Just like most of sports hasn't had the greatest of content. But my intention is to come here, try to tap in with you guys as much as I can think to do so, and just bump my gums for, you know what I mean, and give you the content that's there for me to give you. But we all know what time it is when it comes to the NBA. It's the off season, man. Our guys are enjoying their summertime, and they should be, because it's going to be a nice long season ahead. You got teams broken to start the season. You got guys who obviously want to be in different situations. You got guys who are just getting their careers started, who have big hopes for their futures. And as they come into the league, I think this is a generation of rookies who are getting a real taste of the business for basketball as soon as they step in. Now, maybe this is my perception of it. I don't know if this is any different than any other year, but just looking at how things are and because of how public all of the business of basketball actually is, I think this generation is really getting a good look at what could be down the pipeline for them, the type of struggles that may be coming because of the holdouts that various players are having, or these trade demands that players are having. This gives you an understanding that players are going to have to deal with the repercussions of their reactions to all of this. And so that's what I'm looking at. I'm hopeful that these kids are picking up everything that's out there for them to see and are getting the second nature aspects of the business that maybe didn't come as second nature to the guys that came before them. That's my hope, is that the Chets and the Paulos understand the most basic stuff about what to expect when they have certain contracts, what to expect when certain dates appear on the calendar, you know what I mean? How to plan or plot out their careers as it pertains to their own goals, to make the decision early to either chase the bag or chase the victories. Make that decision and commit to it early, man. Commit to that early. Because if you have your goal in place in regards to that, and you know who you are and what you're not going to go for, you can start plotting your path accordingly. And there are ways to do that, man. There are ways to do that. So I'm just hopeful and curious to see if that translates to players navigating a little better throughout their careers going forward. And so now we're looking at the Kevin Durant situation. It's the same thing, of course. We don't know nothing more than we did last. No new developments. This is a stagnant situation, which is why I'm calling for anybody to just make a small trade. As I said today, just take a second round pick and trade it for cash considerations. I don't care. Just get the ball rolling with something that puts a price tag on everything. And that is ultimately all I'm asking the NBA to do. So that's pretty much the thought there. All in all, this has been the worst NBA summer ever. I truly believe that, and I hope that the NBA is making plans to give us a much better summer next season, and do something. Here's my thing, man. I'm not mad at Danny Ainge, because if Danny Ainge was my GM, I'd want him to keep on driving hard bargains and things like that. But I think even Danny Ainge might have learned something about this market, or rather how to maneuver in this market. He's trying to rebuild his entire team, right? And that's a good thing. No problem. You sell everything you have for the highest amount and you start over. That is what, I mean, hey, if I'm the Utah Jazz, I don't think they hired a better person. I don't think there's a better person in the league for what it is they're trying to do. So all of this is fine, man. I'm not mad at him. Except for the fact that you're not able to complete your mission because you did such an incredibly lopsided trade to start free agency that now, of course, nobody wants to do anything else. So what I think maybe Danny's side of the fence may have learned is that driving a hard bargain has consequences for you as well. Sometimes you can start off, the game really well by getting a good deal going, but then you now have the reputation for being somebody who's going to fleece everybody, so you can't get another good deal going. And so, you know what, as I learn about power, as I learn about greed, as I continue to study human behavior, I look at things like this and I realize when you bite off too much, more than you can chew, you will definitely find yourself in a situation where you are not able to really swallow, so to speak. And that is essentially what I think is happening there. Can't finish the job, man, because you've started the process of trading Rudy Gobert, got him traded, but that trade stalled the entire damn market. So it's a good chance that he doesn't get his job done, the job that he set out to do. It's a good chance it doesn't even get completed. He's going to have to go into the season with Donovan Mitchell on his roster because of the move he made. And so does everybody else with their moves that they need to make for their teams. He stagnated. He I don't know if stagnated is the right word, but that's exactly what happened there. Slowed the market down to a halt, and now no one else is able to do anything. So the lesson is, just because you have the right to do something doesn't mean it's right for you to do something. Just because it's in your position to take off a lot from the situation, bite off as much as you can chew. Maybe it's not necessarily best for you to be seen as somebody who's eating that much while everybody's watching you. You know what I mean? Everybody else has to eat from the same plate, and you're eating half of the plate before anybody gets a chance to touch it. Yeah, not gonna be the most liked guy in the room. So that's, I think, is the situation that Utah may find themselves in now. Now people are gonna look at him like I looked at him and say, I ain't even want to do business with this guy because he's gonna try to fleece me, and that's all there is to it. And it's one of those situations where it's like, all right, you only got one deal done. That's all you can do. All right, you got everything for Rudy Gobert, but guess what? You shut the door on anything else happening. So in the long run, you actually got less than what it is that you could have gotten if you just would have taken a little less right away. And that's what I always say about players in regards to these teams too. There's more than one way to get what it is you're trying to do. There's more than one way to get your goals done. But if you only take all you can eat right away, you will be seen as a glutton, and that will have reverberating effects across the market. So that is how I look at the situation. I hope we've learned something, and take that with you in other areas of life, man. Power should be wielded responsibly. And we talk about LeBron James start the video and how he's getting going with the Lakers and getting rich with the Lakers. Many years of him biting off more than he could chew as it pertains to changing rosters around and ultimately leaving them without as much. We talk about it all the time, of course, but it's kind of the same thing. Bron has had the power to move around and can do what he wants to do, and has taught everybody else how to move. But look at the result of that. Now he's in a space where he has to kind of hug up with the Lakers, even though it may not be his favorite place right now. It's the best he can do right now, based on people copying him, moving around, using his power, but maybe not using it in a way that is as responsible as him, or maybe not using it in a way that is, less disruptive. You know what I mean? It's much more disruptive when people copy what Bron's doing for themselves. You know what I mean? It's much more disruptive. And I think that's the point. It's like he was able to do what he was doing, moving from team to team, demanding what he demanded, things of that nature, because he was the pinnacle, and because he could always represent the amount of money that his contract would dictate. If he was signing a $50 million contract, he could live up to it tenfold, because he could always carry that amount of weight in basketball. But that didn't always come true as it pertains to some of his fellow teams, not teammates, but his fellow peers, who kind of tried to pattern themselves after his moves and tried to use some of the power that he had. Things of that nature didn't go as well. They may have used too much of it. Maybe they didn't have the connections he had. Whatever. Point is, it didn't go as well. And now the same waters he's trying to maneuver around in are mucked up because he bit off more than maybe he should have in the past. And now, as a result, everybody is messing up the market following the path that he laid for them. So maybe if he would have laid a more safer navigational path for those guys, it would have more of a favorable effect on him right now. And so that's why using your power with grace and making sure that everybody respects that not only do you have your power, but you understand the importance of wielding your power. You know what it means to have your power. You know what it means to be seen using your power, and you know exactly what it means for you when you do. Because that's what happens, man. That's what happens. People use their power to do whatever they want to do. I got a chance to bite everything now. I'm grabbing it all right now. And then what? Now you ain't leave nothing for you to take later. Now you ain't leave nothing for everybody else to take later. Now everybody's mad at you. Just a bunch of stuff that happens when you just do everything you're capable of doing at once, instead of thinking about the consideration of others, thinking about how that affects others, thinking about how that which affects others will affect you later on. That's the wisdom of holding power. That's the wisdom of not trying to be God. If I'm being completely honest with you, that's the wisdom in my mind behind not trying to be the all greatest, all seeing, all everything. Because when you're given power like that, you now have the responsibility to know what to do with that power. Not only what to do with it, but what not to do with it. You're supposed to be wise enough to be able to see all the angles necessary to know what's going to happen later if you do certain things, how other people are going to react to it, what's going to happen to them. These things are impossible to understand. You have to have all encompassing knowledge in order to be able to effectively cover all bases when wielding such power. It's impossible to have that from our perspectives. We don't have the point of view and the perspective from our positions to be able to survey enough to encompass that wisdom, in my opinion. All of that is far away from basketball, but it still aligns because it's the art of managing power that you're bestowed, that you're given, that you may have the right to use, but it may not be right for you to use. They don't. So that's the wisdom, man. Be wise with the power that you have. Just because you can do it don't mean you should. Why? I've already said it, but at the end of the day, to sum it all up, because it can hurt you in the long run. It's truly what it can come down to. You and everybody else. So now that we got it all out the way, I think LeBron James is a basketball god, and I think he's going to do amazing things on the basketball court this season with the Lakers. And I'm very much excited about him being a Laker. Nevertheless, mistakes have been made, whatever, who cares? We are in a space where we're going forward. We understand our team can't make trades, so we're not sitting here demanding they do. We understand that we want to get Kyrie Irving. It may not be possible right now. All these things are true and understood. But we got a season to play. We got a season to play, and we know the team that we start the season with is not the team that we're going to end the season with. We know that. Let's just sum it up and be honest with ourselves. Even if we start the season with Russell Westbrook, we understand that the emotion that we're going to ultimately do is trade him for pieces that should make us good throughout the season. So if guys have to start the season on the Lakers, they need to stay focused. That's what I tell them. You need to stay focused. If you look up and Westbrook's on the team, bull through it. If you're in Brooklyn and you wake up and you're still there and you don't want to be there, bull through it. Because at this point, everybody has to be where they don't want to be. And there's nothing abnormal about that adjustment for the entire league at this point. That's what I would tell KD. That's what I would tell Kyrie. That's what I tell any and everybody. Donovan Mitchell, all of y'all. You are not behind schedule because everybody is stuck. That's the beauty of the circumstance. No one needs to be upset about not moving, including Kevin Durant, because nobody's able to move. That is the bottom freaking line. So I don't think anybody should be frustrated starting the season with their situations, because I know those situations otherwise would have been solved. They will get solved as soon as they are able to. So I'd start the season if I'm Kyrie. I'd start the season if I'm KD. And I don't even make a fuss because no one is able to do anything. So I think that would be the advice I'd give everybody. Start the season. Have your emotions not be a part of it. Everything will get resumed when it is able to. And I think all of these teams, all of them, will make the necessary moves to make their teams better. Every last one of them. I definitely think Brooklyn's going to move on from Kyrie. I definitely think Brooklyn's going to try to keep KD. And it's up to him whether or not he wants to do that. I hear Charlotte is interested in Donovan Mitchell. That's an interesting thing to say. I really like that because it's just out of left field. And I think for the Knicks, they needed, and maybe I'm not looking at this correctly, forgive me if I'm not, but I think the Knicks needed somebody to come in and provide a different trade package to offset what it is that the price tag is. Sometimes when you're negotiating against yourself, the price tag is super high. But when you bring in a third party to bring forth their package, and their package is more comparable to your package than it is to what it is that the other team that you're going against is asking for, then suddenly, by way of bringing in another trade partner, you have effectively provided leverage for the price target that you're after, and ultimately pull them away from the price target that they're after. So even though in a lot of situations they say, oh, you don't want to be negotiating against yourself, this is definitely one of those situations. Utah Jazz price tag on Donovan Mitchell was 7 picks and some serious players. Once you bring Charlotte into the situation, whatever Charlotte's putting on the table, if it's less than what the Knicks are willing to put in, now the Knicks are in that spot that they want to be in. Because now they can get the ball rolling, showing Danny Ainge that price that he has in mind for them to pay ain't reasonable, ain't going to be paid by nobody else, and now he has to renegotiate with both teams. Try to find a deal that makes sense within that price range if he's willing to move Donovan Mitchell. So that is how I'm looking at it. I hope I'm looking at it correctly, because that's what I'm saying to you guys. I think Charlotte's presence is a very good thing. Donovan Mitchell needed more than one suitor after him in order to make that price movable. So thank God Charlotte's involved. And also, I do like Charlotte adding Donovan Mitchell and LaMelo Ball together. I like that a lot more than the Knicks situation from a basketball standpoint. I just do. I think LaMelo and Donovan Mitchell, with LaMelo being a bigger guy than Jalen Brunson, I think it makes more sense in the backcourt to have those two there. I love the dynamic play between those two players. LaMelo, I don't know how they play defensively, because I'm not sure LaMelo's a defender like that. And I know Donovan is not. But offensively, those two playing off each other with Williams in the middle, if they're able to retain him and not throw him in this trade, which I'm not sure about. And some of these other long players that they also have, like Jones, some of the other guys that they got on that team, PJ Washington. I don't know who they all keep if they're giving up in order to get Donovan Mitchell, but in my mind, if they look like a very interesting spot to try to bring in a superstar and try to push LaMelo's timeline a bit forward. So I'm intrigued by that. I don't think he actually ends up there by any stretch of the imagination, but I definitely like him being involved to offset that damn price. So that's one of the things that I could bring to the table. That's definitely what I'm looking at. So all in all, that is pretty much the video there for you, man. That's what I got. I stretched this thing out to 22 minutes, even though there ain't nothing to talk about. That's what it is. That's what we got. Carefully wielding your power, you guys. Just because you're a god does not mean that you truly encompass the vision necessary to see all that he can actually see. So we got the power, but not the wisdom. So keep learning, people. Keep learning. My name is BDF44. Thank you all for watching.